Bhakti Raksha Goswami Maharaj. Um, and so we asked the Vaishnavas for their permission to read this. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripasindhibhyevacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Let me see if I can find the page that I need. It's up here somewhere. There we are. Okay. Well, we're reading this chapter called God Consciousness versus Society Consciousness. And I suppose when we made this book, uh, Goswami Maharaj and I, and our crew there at Guardian of Devotion Press in San Jose, California, back in the 1980s, some 40 years ago, what we were really concerned with was this problem of how the teachings of Guru Dev become embedded in an organization or an institution. And as a consequence of that, uh, we find that the institution seems to take precedence over the initial teachings of the guru, so much so that it almost becomes like a church. And so uh, the question, a lot of different questions came up. Is your loyalty to the church? Is your loyalty to the the guru who founded the church, or the teachings of the guru? Because the personality of the guru and his teachings may be two different things entirely. Uh, Vani and Vapu. So you can serve the guru in his person because perhaps he likes a special recipe of dal, for example. And you can dedicate your life to creating the best soup possible for the guru and consider that your service. Or you may think that, well, perhaps a higher duty is fealty to his message, understanding deeply what it was he tried to teach us and trying to act on that. Uh, but then again, here's the institution he founded, and the church has its rules. So, for example, they might say, well, on Sunday, um, we're going to polish the silver. Uh, and that begins to become a rule that takes precedence over everything else. So, where does one put one's faith? This was the big issue of the day. Uh, and we found that Srila Sri Ramakrishna offered us uh, this understanding of God consciousness versus society consciousness. And of course, when we're talking about society here, it was the International Society for Krishna Consciousness that we were talking about. You can apply that more widely to society in general. Uh, and over the years, if you look at this chapter and how it's been received and taught and thought about, uh, you'll find that perhaps the reference to the International Society for Krishna Consciousness has receded into the background a little bit. And we think Srila Sri Ramakrishna is really talking about material society. But for us back in the day, it was clear he was speaking about a religious monastic community like the Gaudiya Math. Then the other problem that came up was um, the relative quality of different gurus. And this is also very subtle and difficult to ferret out and get to the bottom of. Uh, it's like if you try to say, well, okay, my school is the best school because we have the best football team, or because someone famous went there. But how do you compare uh, different schools to say, well, okay, this school over here is the gold standard, and the other ones don't really come up to the mark? So you say, well, okay, a university like Harvard, now that's a school. And, the boys' school that you went to in, Enniscorthy or wherever it was, it was an okay school, but it's not Harvard. How do you make that distinction? It's very difficult to do. In the United States, we have a catalog of universities, and they try to rate different universities on the basis of what they offer. Uh, and you get into things like, well, how qualified are the professors? How qualified are the students? What is the university atmosphere like? What books have been published there? What great scholars have emerged from there? And so each school has its own relative value. So Srila Sri Ramakrishna continues his talk. He says, when we're in school, all do not pass, some fail. And then we have to make new classmates. Again, we advance, and again, we have new classmates, and old classmates may fall behind. It's quite natural. That does not mean that we are envious of them. We're sympathetic. We shall try our best to help them, but still, it may happen. We cannot help it, but this is the nature of spiritual life. So the absolute and relative principles are always clashing. They will seem to fight with one another. But the absolute should be accepted and the relative should be sacrificed. Still, the relative is necessary. A boy must put his whole faith in his primary school teacher. Otherwise, his progress will be hindered. Now, what Srila Sri Ramakrishna is pointing out is that when you're in primary school, you have to listen to what the teacher says, even if it's a bit superficial. You may be studying advanced quantum physics, and the teacher may be showing you Newton's principle of gravity, uh, but you need to pay attention and honor what the teacher is giving. Otherwise, your progress will be hindered. He should not think that what his teacher teaches him is all false or of a lower type. When he grows up, he will accept another teacher for higher education. But that does not mean that the primary teacher is neglected or insulted. So, for example, you may uh, take violin lessons from someone uh, who may not be a concert violinist, but they can teach you the scales and harmony and how music is to be played, how to read the staff. And later on, you go to a concert violinist who trains you for the stage, but you don't insult that teacher who first put the instrument in your hand and showed you how to play. When he grows up, he will accept another teacher for higher education, but that does not mean that the primary teacher is neglected or insulted. For our own interest, whatever we find which is akin to what was given to us by our Guru Maharaj, whatever we find that will enlighten us further, and whatever will help us to understand more clearly what we heard from our Guru Maharaj, must be accepted. So, in a way, Srila Sri Ramakrishna he's trying to comfort us and tell us, well, we live in a society with our God brothers. It may be that our God brothers are not as advanced as Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, but whatever we find that will enlighten us further, we should accept that. When we heard this, we took this to mean that, well, here's Srila Sridhar Maharaj. He's certainly enlightening us further. There was a prohibition at the time, and still among some circles, they don't like to hear from Srila Sri Maharaj because they feel that the direct line comes from Bhaktivedanta Swami. You must follow that, even if uh, we're imperfect vessels. But when we heard this, we could clearly say, well, what Srila Sridhar Maharaj is giving us is enlightening us further. And also, our God brothers who did their best to imbibe something from Bhaktivedanta Swami, they were great people, very saintly. But here with Srila Sridhar Maharaj, we're finding that he can enlighten us further, and that must be accepted. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj continues. He says, otherwise, what have I taken in the prison house of my mind through my scholarship? And this leads on to a more interesting uh, point about Gyanashunya Bhakti. What have I taken in the prison house of my mind through my scholarship? God is not a finite thing. He is infinite. And as much as in the cell of my brain I have imprisoned him, shall I stick only to that? So again, you go to the school and they teach you things in the school, but is that the ultimate reality, or can you grow? Shall I stick only to that? What is this? Is my realization a living thing, or is it dead? Is there any growth? What I have received from my spiritual master, can it grow, or is it finished? Have I reached the infinite standard where I can progress no further? And this is another problem that we face, my friends, in the sense that we're told that the important thing is to preach. And so we preach what we know, or we preach what we're told, and go on repeating that again and again, like parrots. And we feel that by preaching, we make some progress. You learn by teaching. But is it finished? Or can you progress no further? And some people will say, yeah, that's it. What was published in such and such book, that's the be all and end all. It's the alpha and omega. And there's no way you can go any further than that. So I've reached the highest standard. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, well, if someone says that he's reached that standard and that there's nothing further to be realized, then we offer our obeisances to him from far away. We are not worshippers of that. If one thinks that he is finished, that he has attained perfection, we hate it. Even an acharya should consider that he is a student and not a finished professor who has everything. So I've seen it again and again that uh, a disciple studies for a while, becomes a teacher, a master, if you like, a swami, and then says, well, I have disciples. That means I'm a guru. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, of course, he says, Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado. By the grace of God, he's guru. Shakshat Dari Vena Samasta Shastra. All the Shastra declare he's Sakshat Darid. He's God. So now that I'm a guru, that means that I'm God. Now that I'm a guru, you should worship me as God. And if you don't, well, what is that? That's Guru Ninda. That's Vaishnava Aparad. That's Guru. That's how, that's the elephant Aparad. Don't do that. That's the worst kind of sin and offense. And so those who do not directly worship me as God uh, are not worthy to come into my presence. They're not worthy to come into the temple. And so we see devotees demonized because they don't glorify a particular person in a particular way. But this is not at all uh, the kind of Vaishnavism that was taught by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Uh, Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, if someone says that he has reached that standard and there's nothing further to be realized, then we offer our obeisances to him from far away. He's, he's so polite. We are not worshippers of that. If one thinks that he is finished, that he has attained perfection, we hate it. Even an acharya should consider that he is a student and not a finished professor who has everything. And if you study the line of our preceptors, you'll see this again and again. Uh, Narada is a student of Brahma, even though he's Narada Muni. Vyasadeva wrote all the scriptures, but he's a student of Narada Muni. One should always think of himself as a bona fide student. And this word bona fide, it's interesting because in the Hare Krishna movement, bona fide means genuine. You know, someone will offer prasadam and you'll ask them, is that bona fide? You're offering a corn tortilla to Krishna, is that bona fide? But the word bona fide in Latin, it means good faith. So we're students in good faith. It doesn't mean that we're perfect. It doesn't mean we may not be entirely genuine, but we're coming to Krishna consciousness in good faith. He says, we have come to realize the infinite, not a finite thing. So if you have a product, if you have a finite thing, then you can own that and buy it and sell it and be the master of it. But infinite knowledge, we've come to realize the infinite, not a finite thing. So this fight between finite and infinite knowledge will continue always. Should we think what I've understood is absolute? No, we have not finished with knowledge. Still, we must know. Brahma himself says, I am fully deceived by your power, master. I am nowhere. Anyone who has come in connection with the infinite cannot but say this. I am nothing. That should be the salient point. So here Srila Sridhar Maharaj is pointing out that it's a very high value in our sampradaya, our school, humility, and that even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says, Trinada pi sunichena. Without humility, there's no kirtaniya sada hari. There's no real kirtan without humility. So to come out and tell people, well, I am the kirtan master, I have mastered the holy name, this is not at all our point of view. The propounder of the greatest scripture in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, Sridhar Maharaj continues, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Puri Shara Kite Hoite, Mui Selagishta. I am lower than a worm in stool. This is his statement, and he is saying so sincerely. It's interesting that Srila Sridhar Maharaj underlines that by saying, he's saying this sincerely. He's not making it up. He's not just saying, oh, well, I'm supposed to be humble, so I'll say this thing about being lower than a worm in stool. No, he feels like that. He's saying it sincerely. Should we be ashamed to express our negative character, our negative development, which is the real wealth for a disciple? So because such negative character is shown by him, we fall at his feet. And if someone says, I have finished all knowledge, God, Chaitanya, is my disciple, he should be shot down as the greatest enemy ever found in the world. And now, this business about someone saying that Chaitanya is my disciple, I think that's coming from some famous Bengali person. Perhaps it was Ram Krishna or Vivekananda who said this. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj did not really appreciate uh, Ram Krishna because Ram Krishna, his point was, God is one. We're all one. We're all one with God. I have my Leela as Ram. I have my Leela as Krishna. Yeah, Chaitanya is my disciple. But Srila Sri Ramakrishna was not having that. He says he should be shot down as the greatest enemy ever found in the world. So here in this section of Sri Guru and His Grace, Srila Sri Ramakrishna is referencing the Brahma vimohan-lila. And as we were saying, that, well, Vyas represents himself as a student. Narada Muni represents himself as a student. What about Brahma? Brahma's the head of the Sampradaya. He's number one. He's God. He made the world. I don't know how that works, really, but we're told through sound, through mantra, perhaps. Brahma sits on the lotus that is born from Padmanabha, Mahavishnu, and he hears the divine mantra, the Gayatri mantra. We get the Gayatri mantra from Brahma. That's why it's called the Brahma Gayatri mantra. You know, the Brahma Gayatri mantra. It brings you to divinity. So this is something that Brahma himself meditates upon before he somehow brings our world into existence. But there are various different um, representations of exactly how that creation takes place. There's 18 different Puranas, and there's a slight variation in how the story is told in each Purana. And it's also repeated in the Mahabharata. Uh, and then there are Manvantaras and Manus and, different creative agents and agencies that kind of devolve or evolve from Brahma to bring that about. But we understand there's some kind of a subtle mental energy going on there. But so who is Brahma? He's the creator of the universe. And most cultures, they stop there. You know, most uh, religions, they stop at the creator. They figure you can't go any higher than that. We don't. We say, well, the creator, he's also kind of a relative position. And that position is occupied differently in different ages and kalpas by different kinds of creating gods. And so I thought I'd read a little bit from the Loving Search for the Lost Servant, which is another book that we published. And it's really lovingly put together. It's made with beautiful paper and illustrations. It has this nice uh, illustration by B.G. Sharma. We commissioned that painting, by the way. It's a very famous painting. You see it a lot. Uh, you know, Goswami Maharaj went to B.G. Sharma in India, asked him to create that. So there's this chapter in the book called Brahma's Illusion. And if you don't mind, I'll read a little bit from it because we're sort of discussing, well, what is the position of guru and disciple? And Srila Sridhar, he likes this idea of chintya beta beta tattva, that you can look at one thing from over here and then you can see it over there and it'll have a slightly different perspective or reality to it, you know. So he's discussing how is it possible that somebody can become proud about their knowledge, like the man who says, well, I am God, you know. So we're going to talk about somebody who really is God. Even Lord Brahma, the creator of this universe, the original guru of the Sampradaya, was astonished by the wonders of Krishna. Once, when Krishna was living in Dwarka, he heard that Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, had come to see him. Krishna asked his messenger, which Brahma? When the messenger put this question to Brahma, Brahma thought, are there other Brahmas also? How is it possible? He told the messenger, you just informed Krishna that I am the father of the four Kumaras, the four-headed Brahma. The messenger went to Krishna with the news. Yes, show him in, Krishna said, knowing Brahma's temperament. Krishna went in, but he was astounded to see that so many Brahmas had gathered there from all the universes in the creation. There were 100-headed, 1,000-headed, million-headed Brahmas all present there, because the whole creation is based on Krishna's hypnotism. The four-headed Brahma could see Krishna and all those other Brahmas, but the other Brahmas could not see each other. Each one of them saw only Krishna. Each one of them thought, Krishna has come in my universe and called for me out of some necessity. But the Brahma of this universe could see everything because he had inquired, which Brahma? What is the meaning of which Brahma? Are there other Brahmas? I wonder. In this way, Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, was baffled by the wonderful ways of Krishna. Previously in Vrindavan, Brahma had also had some doubt about the position of the Lord. He thought, who is this cowherd boy? He moves in such a way that it appears that he does not care for anyone. He's within my Brahmanda, my universe. But he does not care to know me? What is this attitude? Who is he? He's not Narayan. Only Narayan is above me, and I am a little accustomed to his ways and manners, but this boy is not Narayan. That anything can exist above Narayan is impossible. Then who is he? To test Krishna, Brahma took away the cowherd boys and calves accompanying him and hid them in a cave. After a year, he returned to see how life was continuing in Vrindavan, to see how Krishna was doing without his calves and cowherd boys. And he found that everything was as before. The Lord, surrounded by his cowherd boyfriends, was carrying his flute under his armpit and a morsel of food in his hand. There's an illustration. I don't know if you can see that very well. There's the cowherd boys are in a cave over there. Mhm. He found everything going on as it had before. Then Brahma began to think, what is this? Have the calves and cowherd boys come back without my notice? He again checked the cave where he had hid them, found they were all there. Then he thought, how is this possible? I stole the calves and cowherd boys and hid them here, and now that I've returned, I find they're all still here, just as before. Finally, perplexed, he fell at Krishna's lotus feet, praying, my Lord, I could not recognize you. You've come to play such a plain and ordinary part, that of a cowherd boy. How can anyone believe that you hold an even greater position than that of Narayana? Please forgive me for whatever I have done. In many places in Bhagavatam, we find Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, being tested by Krishna. And still, Brahma is our Guru Dev. He's the original guru of our line. That he could become so bewildered is very perplexing and difficult to understand, so much so that Madhvacharya eliminated that section from the Srimad Bhagavatam. He could not accept those two chapters of Bhagavatam where Brahma was under illusion, where he had some misunderstanding about Krishna. So this is really that's the position of a faithful disciple. That if somebody says, "Oh, Guru Dev did something wrong, he did something incorrect, he was bewildered, uh, he had a misunderstanding," it's the duty of the disciple to try to come in and adjust things so that Guru Dev doesn't, you know, look bad. He's not held in a bad light. And so Madhvacharya, he doesn't like the Brahma vimohan-lila. He thinks, well, let's erase that from the Bhagavatam. We don't want to think about that, you know. After all, Madhvacharya, he really loves uh, Narayan Krishna. He's a little bit more awe and reverence, you know. Whereas Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he likes Madhavendra Puri because Madhavendra Puri loves Krishna, you know. That's why he accepts that he rescues that from uh, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. He loves Madhavendra Puri. Really, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not need to appeal to Madhvacharya for authenticity because we know that he is the avatar of Krishna himself. But, he likes to fall in that sampradaya, but Madhvacharya doesn't like the Brahma Vimohana Lila. How is that possible that the Guru could be baffled? But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he accepts that. He's like, well, okay, Guru could be baffled sometimes, even Lord Brahma. This is a peculiar thing. He said, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted everything in toto. This is a very peculiar thing. How can the original Guru of our Sampradaya become bewildered about Krishna? It is achintya, inconceivable. Still, everything is intelligible through the philosophy of achintya bheda bheda tattva, inconceivable oneness and difference. How can we accommodate that our original Guru becomes perplexed not only once, but twice? That is Leela, divine pastime. An example of achintya bheda bheda tattva is found in the way Krishna deals with his devotees. Krishna himself is independent of everything. Still, sometimes he shows himself to be completely subordinate to his servants and must do whatever they want him to. Then again, sometimes he completely ignores them. These are the spontaneous pastimes of the sweet absolute. Sometimes he shows absolute submission to Srimati Radharani. And again, sometimes he ignores her. This is the very nature of Krishna's Leela. So it's a strange kind of pastime where the intellect of Brahma, just imagine, you think you're smart. Uh, Brahma has it all figured out. uh, and so, in a way, this is pointing to Gyanashunya Bhakti. It's saying it's nice that you can meditate on the infinite. It's nice that you can read books and develop an understanding of the Siddhanta. But don't think that you can capture the infinite within your fist. So Lord Brahma, he comes out with this nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Jnane prayasamudapasyanamanta eva jivanti sanmukaritam bhavadiya vartam. Stane stita shrutigatam tanuvan manobir ye praya so chitajito pyasitais trilokyam. He says, my Lord, those who pride themselves on learning, who think they know you, cannot know you. But those who surrender in devotion, they can know you truly, even without study. So you may go through so many different Vedas and different levels of of learning. But you cannot get the infinite within your fist. And we like to hear these stories about um, Krishna, but we have to keep in mind that Krishna's pastimes or Krishna-lila, these are not ordinary stories. Uh, in order to really understand the pastimes of the sweet absolute, you need to penetrate a higher level of Krishna Bhakti. Uh, Raghupati Upadhyay in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says, uh, the Vedas are interesting, but let people who are fascinated with knowledge study the Vedas deeply. I, for one, am curious to know how is it possible that the absolute truth, infinite God, is playing, eating mud in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. What did Nanda do? What kind of austerities or what kind of yoga did Nanda Maharaj practice? So we have to be careful to not fall under the influence of Maya and think of Krishna's pastimes as being some charming uh, grandma stories that Hindu grandmas tell their babies to make them fall asleep. Uh, Look what happened to Brahma. It's impossible to understand the pastimes of Krishna with intellect. So Brahma says here, those who pride themselves on learning, who think they know you, cannot know you. But those who surrender in devotion, they can know you truly, even without study. Uh, the idea is that too much knowledge can be a dangerous thing. Uh, in the world of in the world of Disney, for example, there's the story of the Sorcerer's Apprentice. You all seen that, maybe. It's a classic cartoon. One of the first great Disney cartoons was called Fantasia, although in Spanish we say fantasia because it means a fantasy. And in that, Disney Studios married music with animation in a very creative way. But one of the main stories in that was The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which is based on a poem by Goethe from an old German folk tale. And it's a story of how uh, the magician uh, leaves Mickey Mouse uh, with the task of sweeping out his laboratory. He's an alchemist. Uh, and Mickey Mouse thinks, well, can't I be like the magician, like the sorcerer? And he picks up the sorcerer's wand and looks in a book and reads the spell out loud and waves the wand. And he gets the brooms to dance. And he says, good work, broom. Now carry a bucket and put water in the bucket and mop the floor. But then the broom gets out of control. It's pouring way too much water. It's not a disciplined broom. It's like artificial intelligence, alpha. It hasn't reached the beta stage yet. And so Mickey Mouse goes, oh no, and he waves the wand again. But the broom splits into two. And now there's two brooms splashing water all over the floor. And he goes, oh no, do it again. Stop, stop. What's the mantra for stop? Like the other day, I have one of those Google hubs, and I can say, hey, Google, play kirtan. And it will play a Hare Krishna kirtan. And I had a little girl over. There it is. It heard me. I don't know if it's going to play kirtan or not. It hurt me. Hey, Google, stop. Yeah, like that. Mickey Mouse tries to make it stop. But the girl, when I said, um, hey, hey, Google, play Take Five by Dave Brubeck.
Choosing songs is only available to Spotify Premium subscribers, but give this Spotify Take 5 station a listen.
Hey, Google, turn up the volume. So Mickey Mouse is splashing the water all over the place, and he's like, stop, stop, make it stop. Like the girl in my house, she tried to imitate me, and she said, Google, stop. Google, Google, stop it. Google, stop it. It didn't work because she didn't know she's supposed to say, hey, Google, stop. So Mickey Mouse got the same problem. He doesn't know the spell. And gradually the basement begins to fill up with water, or the laboratory of the sorcerer is filling up with water. It's destroying everything. And then the sorcerer walks in, like, what are you doing? And snaps his fingers and the water disappears. The point of the story of the sorcerer's apprentice, of course, is a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. So, or Sri Ramash would often say, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. So we want everything. We don't want to do the hard work of surrender. Surrender is not an easy path. You can't get it with knowledge. You can't get it by opening books and reading out the spells. But there are those who want to go to Vrindavan and think, okay, sort of spiritual tourism. I like this. How can I get in on the whole Krishna thing? I can be a gopi. What do I have to do? Does that involve some kind of an operation or, you know, I go to the guru and the guru will go like this and then I can become a gopi. Srila Sri Ramakrishna didn't like that. He said there were gurus who would take their thumbs and push their thumbs into your eyeballs. And in this way, you would see the white light. You could see the Brahma Jyoti and merge into the oneness of the Brahma Jyoti. He didn't like that. He thought this was very superficial. And he liked the teaching of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Pujala Ragapad Gaurava Bhange, Matala Harichana Kirtana Range, where we keep the Ragapad, all that, Lord Brahma, the cowherd boys, that's on our head. We keep that up there. And down in this plane, we try to concentrate on uh, kirtan. And kirtan takes many forms. It can be uh, printing books, reading poems, talking to your friends, giving a formal lecture, or walking down the street with banging a drum and shouting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All this is kirtan. So, Bhujala Ragapad, Gaurava Bhanga. We keep that on our head. We're not trying to enter into those pastimes anytime soon. We have a lot of work to do here. Even Lord Brahma, then, when he understands the elevated and noble position of uh, Vrindavan, he comes to Jagannath Puri as Haridas Thakur, we're told by Kavi Karnapur and Guru Ganadarshan Deepika, which describes how the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in their former lives uh, were this person or that person and so on. So, according to the analysis given by Kavi Karnapur, Lord Brahma comes as Haridas Thakur. You have to think, well, how does he come to that conclusion? Where does he get? Where's the logic there? Haridas Thakur is punished by the Chand Kasi because he's a Muslim and he's outside his faith. The Chankazi doesn't punish the Hindus because he figures, well, they're lost. They're a different society. We can't touch them. But Haridas Thakur, he's supposed to be, Islamic, and he's gone outside, so he must be punished. But why would the creator of the universe, Lord Brahma, come as a low-born, Muslim person in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? You would think he would come as a king or something. But you can reflect on what is Brahma's value to us in a sense. What is it that he gives us? Well, he gives us the mantra. Where does he get the mantra? He hears the flute song of Sri Krishna. He hears the mantra. He tells Narada. He hears the mantra. And he gives us the mantra. Also, the Chatushloki Bhagavatam is another example of Lord Brahma giving us the entire Bhagavatam in a nutshell. So you could say that, as our guru or the guru of this particular line, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, he's giving us the mantra. And what does Haridas Thakur do? He doesn't know anything else. If you Google, okay, what were the teachings of Haridas Thakur? He didn't write any books. He doesn't have any teachings in that sense. His teaching is chant Hare Krishna, which is something he did incessantly. He's being whipped through, I don't know, 17 or 27 different marketplaces in Navadvip. His only word is the Hare Krishna mantra. As he's being tempted into seduction by a prostitute after having been arrested. His only answer to her is the Hare Krishna mantra. So this is the teaching of Lord Brahma, is the Hare Krishna mantra. That's what we got from Haridas Thakur. And this is why Haridas Thakur is compared to Lord Brahma, because we get the emphasis on the Hare Krishna mantra through Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur doesn't have a sampradaya. There's no gurus that were initiated by gurus that were initiated by Haridas Thakur. His only message is the mantra. So, from being this incredibly intelligent creator of the universe, this gigantic intellect who knows everything, sees everything, to Haridas Thakur, well, we see that Lord Brahma learns his lesson, but have we? So Srila Sridhar Maharaj points out, Jnana Shunya Bhakti is superior to Jnana Mishra Bhakti. It's nice to know everything, but try to become a humble bhakta. Or in the words of Govinda Maharaj, just try to be good people. I saw that the other day. Somebody posted, what is the divine teaching of Govinda Maharaj? Just try to be a good person. It means when he was in India with Srila Sridhar Maharaj day and night, and, living the quiet life of a saint, and Western devotees would come to him all pukka and, wearing dhotis and shaved with tilak. He was very impressed. But then getting on an airplane and going somewhere like London, Govinda Maharaj would look around and go, what's happening here? What are you doing? He could understand that, it wasn't all Vrindavan, in the West. So he's telling us, just try to be a good person. Before you jump ahead to being a Paramahansa, try to be a good person. And then, we can follow the example of Haridas Thakur and imbibe the mantra. So that's my reading of Sri Guru and His Grace for today. And I'm sorry if I sometimes move around. I try to have a strict beginning, middle, and end, but um, Krishna moves in a crooked way. And I can't work out a straight argument from beginning to end because I feel like I have to allow inspiration to do its work. So I don't read the book 5 times before I give the talk, but I have a general idea of where it's supposed to be going. I'm not sure if I got there this morning, and I hope I did, but that's my talk. So, any input from the Dr. Vrinda? You went to London, Subhashini, yes?
Yes, I was there for a week in London.
A week.
It's,
Wow.
yeah, they had the 40th anniversary of the deity's installation. So a 3-day festival. So I was there for 2 days.
Awesome. Who was there?
Quite a lot of devotees from all over. Bhakti Lalita came from Thailand, and some devotees from America, Sri Lanka, Kumkum Didi, and Sudarshan, his family, and Vaikishori, and many devotees from all over the world. Yeah, a lot of devotees came.
Goswami Maharaj used to tell me that in the Calcutta temple, there was a man who would sit in the back, an Indian man. He would sit in the back, and when the lecture finished, he would stand up and say, "Whole world, sunshine, Prabhupada." So that's nice, people are coming from all over the world, Thailand, London. That's
In
such a
Italy, Madhusudan Maharaj was there, and also from Italy, devotees from Italy, Munindra and Krishna Kanta, and so many devotees were there. Yeah.
And of all the Italians, none compares with Adwai. Adwai Krishna Prabhu, how are you? How's everything up in Cooley?
Trying.
Adwai,
Can you hear me now?
perfectly.
Okay. I'm fine. Yes. I mean, the Italian devotees are devotees. I'm just a joke here, but at least I can listen to you from time to time. That keeps me going.
Ah, that's that makes me very sad because I listen to you to keep me going. So, where's that at? About you, Pranashish, how's everything going? You all right?
All good. It's my favorite time of the week. I live for this. It was
Again,
so sad last week when there was no class. I was really depressed.
yeah, I get depressed too, but I don't know. I think that it's part of growing old, because at some point, like in my life, I realized uh, more of my life is gone than will come. I'm 71, so I don't think I'll live another 70 years. What went before, that's that. So sorry, all gone. Goodbye. And maybe I got 5 or 6 good years left. Who knows? But I think perhaps it has something to do with that. When you're when you're 10 years old or 15 or 20, you've got all these hormones going on, so everything is very intense. But when you get older, you know, some things are not so intense anymore. I realize I know things now that I didn't know then. There's a song by Bob Seger says, uh,
We
wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then, which is like kind of cool wisdom, I think. It goes to Ganashunya Bhakti. I wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then. But all the things I know now sometimes make me a little sad, you know. I wanted to write a memoir, you know, and I do from time to time, but like there were some things I wanted to write about my mother, see, but I wasn't sure how the story ended, you know? But then the story did end. I'm like, oh my God, didn't end the way I thought or the way I wanted. And now I can't write about it because it's sad. So wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then. It's interesting meditation by Bob Seger. All right, everyone. Hare Krishna to all of you. I apologize if I'm not as formal as should be, but Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Thank
ki jai.
you, Mike. Jai. Dandavats.
Aye.
We'll see you next time.
Dandavats. Dandavats, everyone. Dandavats.
Dandavat, dandavat.